Deep in a forgotten corner of the Nevada desert stood radio station KX91. The windows were boarded shut, and the transmission tower had been without power for 20 years. According to federal records, the station was officially dead. Yet every night at exactly 1:09 a.m., truck drivers crossing this stretch of highway reported a crystal-clear signal on 91.7 FM. There was no music or chatter, only an announcer reading a list of names, ages, and clothing descriptions, mimicking the exact format police use for missing persons reports. The station had no electricity and no staff, yet it was transmitting highly specific, real-time data through hardware that should have been inert. Local officers investigated the names and found a chilling pattern. Every person mentioned on the broadcast was currently alive and accounted for. That status changed exactly 24 hours later. One by one, every person the voice named vanished. The FBI eventually took over the investigation, attempting to trace the signal from a mobile command unit parked near the station. This spectrum analyzer shows what their instruments recorded: absolute silence. The equipment detected zero electrical activity from the tower, yet agents heard the voice through their radios. The signal was audible, but invisible to the data. Since the hardware couldn't be tracked from the outside, the investigation required an engineer to physically enter the station and observe the machinery while the broadcast was live. A broadcast engineer named Noah volunteered to step inside the station. He found a studio frozen in time. Dust covered the mixing consoles, the cables were unplugged from the walls, and every clock had stopped at 1:09. As the time approached, the station activated itself. A single microphone light turned red, and an old printer began churning out pages of fresh, warm script. Noah watched as the names of the next day's victims printed out. The very last name on the list was his own. The analog wall clock suddenly began moving backward. As the hands spun, the battery and time display on Noah's phone drained and reset, as if the station were reeling in the local environment. By entering the studio, Noah had transitioned from an observer to a participant in the station's nightly cycle. Noah tried to kill the broadcast by force. He smashed the microphone and tore the remaining cables from the consoles, hoping to break the physical circuit. It didn't work at all. The signal continued to transmit perfectly, even after the equipment was reduced to scrap. The anomaly bypassed the broken hardware by using Noah's own throat to broadcast the list. As he spoke the names against his will, the studio speakers played back the voices of the missing, thanking him for the announcement. Noah fled into the desert and was found the next morning by the highway. He was physically unharmed, but when he tried to explain what had happened, he found he could no longer produce a sound, a condition that has persisted for months. The phenomenon didn't need functioning gear to operate. It simply moved to the nearest available medium. Authorities finally demolished the station and cut the tower into pieces, assuming that removing the physical site would end the disappearances. Half a year later, a podcast production company built a modern, internet-based studio on that same plot of land. This new facility was entirely digital, with no radio transmitters or physical antennas anywhere on the property. On their first night of operation, the recording software triggered itself. Without any human input, it created a file exactly 13 minutes long. The file contained the same calm voice reading names, ending with the name of the new podcast host. The software's metadata had automatically updated to reflect a new production timeline. Next episode scheduled, tomorrow, 1:09 a.m. The demolition of the old station hadn't stopped the broadcast. It had only cleared the way for a more modern method of delivery. The signal stayed with the land, moving into whatever new equipment was placed on top of it.